We know there are some incremental upgrades in the S23 Ultra from the S22 Ultra, like a better chip and a better camera. But today, we're talking about whether those upgrades actually played a role in my first few days using this phone. Okay, so when I first took it out of the box and started using it, there was something that stood out to me immediately. And it was almost like moving into new territory with Samsung. I'm talking about the battery. Yeah, we're going to cover the good, the bad, and the disappointing today, but I wanted to start off with battery because it has been absolutely stellar. I'm talking iPhone 13 Pro Max kinda good. The S23 Ultra is very similar to the last gen S22 Ultra. It's almost identical. And that's true about so many of the components as well, including the battery. It's actually almost the same battery we saw last year. Both of them are 5,000 milliamp hours. But there's a pronounced efficiency in the S23 Ultra, and that's coming from the new chip that's powering this beast. A new custom Snapdragon chip. And that difference alone has unlocked so much potential that we didn't get to see in the S22 Ultra, and that has been awesome. For example, you best believe I don't lower my brightness. In fact, I keep it on almost max almost all the time. I also have motion smoothness on adaptive, the highest powering version, and I have my screen mode in vivid. So again, we're pushing the boundaries, but the biggest difference I say is in my screen resolution. It's maxed out at 3088 by 1440. You're paying a lot of money. You might as well be able to use the best this can do. And in the past, we haven't been able to see that, primarily because of the battery. The S22 Ultra, I generally kept it on full HD. I never really went into HD+, but I always kept my screen, my motion smoothness in in the standard mode, and my brightness wasn't always the highest. I also kept that phone in dark mode most of the time. Again, it's the battery plays a huge role in that. Aside from just the display settings, I'm also keeping all of my mobile data, my Bluetooths, my location setting, like all of these are on all the time. In the past, I had to turn location off to save the battery. I kept Bluetooth off to save the battery. The battery has literally not been on my mind, and that's been an absolute fantastic experience, especially when you're coming from something like an iPhone. And just to drive this point home about the battery, I've been having days in the past week where this has gone on a single charge for 2 whole days of usage, literally back to back, with no small amount of work. I'm talking corresponding with clients and employees, doing schoolwork, using Canvas for college, taking pictures, and more on the camera later. But all around, having a blast with the amazing display, and without ever having to feel like the battery is gonna push me back. Oh, and one more thing about the display, it's beautifully bright. It's beautiful and it's bright. We've had some super sunny days here, and even in the outdoors, it's pretty easy to see everything, and somehow feels way better than the display brightness we got last year. Okay, so there's some real upgrades in the battery department, and some of the issues I had with the screen brightness last year are resolved. What else? Well, I also had some bug issues last year, typical Android ecosystem things. None this year. I'm not kidding. Usually the first week is the worst. There are a few app crashes, a few times YouTube won't open, or if it does, it freezes instantly. Again, these are all things I documented last year on the S22 Ultra, but this time it's been liquid smooth. And as far as charging and heat is concerned, there is no concern. Okay, I'll stop there. In gaming, again, there is some minor heat up, especially if you go for longer periods of time, but again, nothing significant. And the gameplays themselves are super smooth, and that's not an issue I had on the S22 Ultra, just to note. Right, okay, so the battery's amazing. Like, seriously amazing. The display is gorgeous, and there are a few points better than even last year's display. The phone charges pretty fast. I haven't had any issues with those usual Android ecosystem bugs and glitches. I was gonna call them glitches. And heating doesn't seem to be an issue either. So these are all pretty good things, right? Yes, absolutely. But there's a little bit more. to the story. Before we get into the bad things, please be sure to smash that subscribe button because it really helps grow a small channel like this one, and I highly appreciate it. Plus, you get to stay in the know of all the coolest and latest tech experiences on this channel. So don't forget to smash that subscribe button. And by the way, this video is sponsored by Simtect. Few of their cases for the S23 Ultra, but also for the entire S23 lineup, and they're all available now. What I have here is their super ultra clear cases, which is the move, specifically because I get to show off my pearl white back on the phone. And I get to do that without getting a super rigid case that digs into my fingers. This is smooth all the way around, kind of keeps the boxy shape of the Ultra, which I really like, and it offers the full protection. So let's get it on. Now you might be wondering, Fossil, what's all this smashed glass that's on my phone and of course on the table? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was a screen protector. Okay, how do I do this? Jizz. Yes. That was a screen protector because I tried to get a screen protector for my device, but I couldn't. Again, you want to protect your device. However, Simtect came through and sent me this clear case, so it goes on so easily. I don't even feel like I'm putting any pressure on the device, and clear. Like, I don't even know if you could tell it's on. It's that clear. It's beautiful. But also the big idea here is there are camera bumps all around the camera, as well as all around the display. So, put it face down, I don't even mind. Put it the other way, I don't even mind. And it's got full protection all around the bezels, so if there are some light drops, I don't mind throwing it on a seat or throwing it in my car. It's gonna be fine. So big shout out to Simtect. I've got their products linked down below, so definitely go check them out on Amazon, and thank you for sponsoring this video. You see, the camera was a major selling point of the phone. We all saw the ads, and even I went out to test the camera on my TikTok, definitely follow the mandem, but is it really all that hot? Pictures are good, and honestly, you don't need any better. If you're someone who just posts on Instagram and Twitter, they scale down images anyway. Color themes remain the same as last year, and that means there's some serious contrast in the images and higher saturation. But the major upgrades in the camera department come in when you do the super zoom and fine grain detail. Yeah, there's some fine grain detail in the booty you zoomed into from 1,000 feet away. Fantastic. And there's also this night mode, and that's pretty cool. You can take a picture of the stars and like see the stars even when the sky is pitch black, and you can zoom into the moon so you can like you know, do what's already been done like a billion times before and take a picture of the moon. Look, I honestly find the camera upgrades to be gimmicks, and what I'm talking about when I say upgrades are upgrades over last year's S22 Ultra. If you're looking for the best phone camera you can buy, you're crazy. But if you're looking for a really good camera that can consistently land you a good shot for your Instagrams and Twitters, this will be probably the best thing you can do. One little thing to note is that because the screen ratio is a little longer than most devices, if you do upload screen recordings like I did on TikTok, you are going to get some serious black bars and stretching to fill as well. So those things you may need to play around with post-production. And although I haven't gone into the editor on this phone so much over the past week, I know from the S22 Ultra, editing with the S Pen is an absolute pleasure. And also the stabilization is pretty insane. Although I haven't used it as much, it is quite a standout feature. Now, if you shoot in 4K at 60p and you enable stabilization, you're gonna get a lot of grain in your video, so just keep that in mind. But probably the biggest pain point of all is the Touch ID function. Now, I'm not talking about Touch ID, okay? Touch ID, the fingerprint scanner, that's separate. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about waking up every day and driving into the garage in the city where I have to tap my phone to enter. Then I visit 4 to 5 different buildings throughout my day, and each one I need to tap my phone to enter. And before I had the S23 Ultra, I was doing all of these taps with the iPhone and it was frictionless. When I switched to the S23 Ultra, I loaded my college IDs and my garage entry IDs and all of these things from my Apple wallet. I transferred them to my Google Pay wallet, okay? And ever since then, it's been not as frictionless. When I pull up to the garage entrance, I can't just tap this on the scanner and enter like I once did. I actually need to go in, open the wallet app, and then tap to make it work. Like every single time I need to enter or use my ID anywhere, I need to make sure the wallet app is opened. And even when it is opened, usually the phone also needs to be opened for me to be able to use that. So that has been kind of one of the biggest annoying things about having this, is that you got to constantly keep the phone on, constantly keep the wallet app open, because I am constantly moving from building to building to garage to building, and all of these require my ID, and I keep tapping throughout the day. Now that is a very small nuisance, and I know, but it just seems so unnecessary, and that's exactly where Samsung remains behind. Not that far behind, but still a few steps behind Apple, whose app integrations and functionality are on the money. Whether it's immediately connecting to AirPods or switching to Apple CarPlay as soon as I get in my car, or just being able to tap on any card reader without having my phone on, and everything just works. Those tiny nuisances do show up on the daily when you switch over to the S23 Ultra, especially if you're coming from something like the iPhone ecosystem. But aside from these tiny nuisances, last year with the Ultra, we saw some major issues with the speakers. I called them garbage. I called them for what they were. They are really good on the S23 and are a noticeable upgrade over last year, and that's without turning on any of the Dolby Atmos features that are built in. Honestly, that's where the bad things end. Whether it's watching anime in bed, enjoying its brilliant display, or just taking down notes or adding to my to-do list, the Ultra has been a very stable, and that's very unlike Samsung, by the way. That's very unlike a new Samsung. New Samsung devices take like a week to optimize. My S22 Ultra took a month to optimize. This is new territory in the experience department, and I like it. Also, one note before we end: unlocking is always a point of friction no matter what device I'm using, but I have to say, between the iPhone 13 Pro Max and the S23 Ultra, it's the Ultra that's been way faster and frictionless for me than the iPhone. Partly because in public, I might have my mask on or my glasses, or might have a different haircut, and each time iPhone had serious issues recognizing my face. So I'd have to fumble around to get the passcode in, since we don't get a fingerprint scanner with the iPhone. Since we get the fingerprint scanner back with the S23 Ultra, not that it went anywhere with Samsung, I've realized how much I love having that feature. Yeah, Apple is lacking there, but the fingerprint scanner on the S23 Ultra, phenomenal. It works each time, every time, super fast. Stick around though, because as the days go on and my travel itinerary heats up for the summer, I will be making more long-term reviews of the S23 Ultra. So if you're interested, make sure to smash the subscribe button, because again, it really helps grow a small channel like this one, and I appreciate all of you.
高円寺、阿佐ヶ谷、西荻窪には列車いたしません。